So the other day I had some of the best post-nut clarity of my life. I remembered the Outer Worlds existed. I don't know if it was because I used my left hand this time, or the Choir Boy video just hit different. As I was laying there in a pool of my own shame, I wanted to revisit the Outer Worlds 735 days later. If you guys have watched my videos before, chances are you're familiar with today's sponsor, Ace Defender, a high-quality sRGB masterpiece combining authentic turn-based RPG battle with tower defense elements. The game has a traditional RPG storyline with over 40 chapters and nearly 2,000 levels. The storyline is about a rebellion in a dragon clan that threatens the balance between good and evil. Our heroine, Alapida, the Silver Dragon Princess, escapes with the Creation Crystal to the human lands. There, she awoke the Creation Crystal and summoned heroes to fight evil with your help. There are over 5 different hero factions: Divine, Demon, Shadow, Nature, Light, with deep hero backstories. Starting with 48 heroes, there are 2 new heroes released every 2 weeks, so always plenty of content, and you can level up, combine these heroes and equip gear to create a powerful lineup. In terms of gameplay, there's 3 different speeds, 1 times, 2 times, 4 times, so you can play however suits you. There's an expedition solo mode, there's PvE, which includes exploring dungeons, regions, engaging in trials and leveling up your heroes to collect rare items, and there is also PvP, where you can fight against other players within your server, or across server in King's arenas with multiple lineups. If you're a newcomer and hit the link in the description, you'll receive 10 Royal Recruit tickets after completing levels 2 to 8, and you can use these tickets by clicking on Sky City, Tavern, and then Recruit as shown on screen. So remember to hit the link in the description or the pinned comment below, and if you hit up PvP, you may even see me out there in Ace Defender. Welcome to space, where it's not quite as magical as one might think. An old dude with a hairline receding faster than my mental health defrosts me from a cryo chamber like a frozen chicken breast. However, before being launched into a new planet, I'm allowed the privilege of complete facial reconstruction. I go for a nose that would make any Jewish person happy to show the potential women of this planet I'm financially secure. As I progress, tweaking every fine detail, I then come to the realization I've basically made an Outer Worlds version of Julian Solomita. I name him Solo because of this, but most people will probably just assume I'm some B-Tech Han Solo, which is disappointing, as the closest I've come to having a fluffy, sweaty companion was when I dated your mother. So the old geezer sends me off to a new planet with the objective of finding a guy by the name of Alex Hawthorne. Well, I did find him. In record time, in fact. He was dead, crushed under my pod with his organs dashed around the shop like a piñata at a little kid's birthday party. Technically, I accomplished a mission, but much like blowing your load before you even got to the foreplay, just because you've reached the end goal doesn't mean you should be proud. I decide there's nothing better for me to do apart from venture further inland in hopes of finding civilization, as I don't even know what year it is right now. I'm out here feeling like Fry, waking up on Earth in the year 2999, only I didn't leave my dog outside of Panucci's Pizza. I did, however, leave 4 Albanian kids in my basement, so I hope someone remembered to give them water. I come across this dude who appears to have set up a nice little camp for himself, but also somehow managed to misfire his weapon into his own ribcage. I bet you thought I was going to make an Alec Baldwin joke there. Come on guys, you know I'm better than that. Anyway, using deductive reasoning skills, I somehow get him to trust me with his gun, so I then rob him of all his belongings, and accidentally discharge my firearm right into his face. Alec Baldwin would be proud. A short way down the road, I meet 2 more fine people who also represent Spacer's choice. Turns out one of them is the superior officer to this dude I just shot in the face, so I sidestep the situation and sweep my crimes under the rug. Kind of like what Facebook are doing by changing its name to Meta. Anyway, they're here on official business investigating a spaceship that landed illegally, but there's marauders patrolling the area. I motivate the lieutenant to move in on their position, and she instantly backs out. I figure the only reasonable thing left to do is to hit it from the back. I'm not talking about doggy, I'm talking about folding her inside out of my staff. That still sounds quite sexual. I leave old matey Private Kimball to get on with his day, as the fearlessness he showed rushing in like that was macho as fuck. He also hasn't noticed his lieutenant is missing, so clearly she was bad at her job and I'm not going to draw any unnecessary attention towards it. I pop inside this little spacecraft to see what the crack is, but it's completely abandoned. Pretty sad too, as there's fresh food in the fridge, coffee on the table, some kind of board game ready to be played. It's clear whoever's ship this was fully intended on coming back, and I hope they're okay. It's a dangerous world out there. I found some fentanyl laying around in a drawer, so I go have a little gamble with life itself, but on my way to the bedroom, I hear a robotic voice speaking to me. It's the ship's computer, Ada, and it turns out the ship belongs to Alex Hawthorne, you know, that dude that I crushed with my pod about 10 minutes ago. I'm pretty disappointed because Ada isn't a baddie. I mean, her trim suggests she prefers her sex without the testosterone anyway. I swear every female in video games looks exactly the same now. Apparently, straight women have gone extinct in the gaming industry. Not like it'll make a difference to my sex life anyway. I managed to trick Ada into believing that I am Alex Hawthorne because she's just a dumb AI that could never be as smart as a real human being. And it turns out the ship needs a new power core, so I'm going to venture into a nearby town and see if they have any spares lying around. I don't know why I think they'll have a spare power core lying around like it's a fucking bike tyre, but hey, I managed to scam nearly 60,000 people into thinking I'm worthy to subscribing to, so I guess anything can happen. Out of the ship I get confronted by another Spacer's Choice rep who is asking questions about where the lieutenant is, so I tell him she was on the end of a little bit of bad luck. He doesn't really seem too bothered though, and I'm starting to slowly learn that this planet care very little about one another's well-being. I decide the power play here would be to also execute this guy, and wow, I've been here 15 minutes and I'm really racking up a high body count. I'm like this planet's version of Dennis Nilsson, except I don't also commit necrophilia, flush victims' bodies down the toilets, or strictly kill just men. Okay, so I'm nothing like Dennis Nilsson except for the multiple counts of murder, I guess. Ah, Edgewater. A beautiful town where everyone is slowly developing leprosy and taking one breath increases your chance of early onset lung disease by 2.4%. I decide to get acquainted with some of the locals as they don't really seem to mind you walking through their front door straight onto their property. I'm a little bit upset I can't pick up these beautifully scented soaps, but I guess this is where you notice Obsidian had the freedom to do what they wanted to and didn't have the restricting grip of Todd Howard around their neck. Speaking of firmly gripping necks, this reminds me of the one time I was having sex with a girl and she wanted to be choked harder and harder to the point where I thought I might actually choke her out right here and then, and I'd be catching a case for 2 different reasons. We were all good in the end though. She said her ears started ringing halfway through, but it was still enjoyable. So yeah, definitely some unresolved father issues in there somewhere. Anyway, Martin has some kind of plague and needs me to steal some medicine for him. I do him a solid and say I'll get the medicine, but I actually just slam my staff over his head, ending the possible spread of a plague right here and now. I'm thinking of the long term for Edgewater here, as we wouldn't want another global pandemic. I mean, just imagine how much time, resources and lives we would have saved if we'd have just done this to the first person that caught COVID. I nick a bit of his tuna because you can't pass up on a good bit of omega-3, but upon exiting Martin's gaff, I'm confronted by another quirky total rebellion to the system short-haired woman. She tells me stealing medicine from Martin would be wasted, which is funny that she thinks Martin's not laid out right now slumped against his living room cabinet. Anyway, she seems pretty selfish trying to steal medicine from an old guy. I mean, it's like the opposite of trying to take candy from a baby, except old people need medicine and candy can be quite detrimental to babies, so really stealing candy from a baby is the nice thing to do. I decide to let her also feel the wrath of my staff, and this one was a little risky as it was in public. Who doesn't love a cheeky, risky one in public though? I mean, if you haven't been banned from a library for fapping on a public computer, have you even lived? Also, yeah, I don't know why data keeps syncing here, my Xbox just started having a seizure, which is truly next gen. I go see this town's equivalent to the sheriff, Constable Reyes, and she literally looks identical to the ship's computer Ada. You can tell character diversity was a real big priority here. Anyway, we start chatting about Phineas Wells, who is the old fella that kept me in a cryo chamber, and apparently he's wanted for some pretty shady things. I mean, it doesn't really come at any shock that he's not the most honest of folk. It's like being surprised when someone comes out as asexual. Just be honest and say you can't get laid, you don't have to label it. Listen, I don't usually apologise for jokes, but if you are asexual and that did offend you, I am sorry. I'm not trying to say no one wants to sleep with you, but Google asexual parade and try and find a single person above a 6 out of 10. It's really difficult. I decide Reyes has to go too, as I'm starting to develop a little bit of Stockholm syndrome for Phineas. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't want to massage that little island in the middle of his head while cuddling next to the fireplace? Honestly, from here on out, things get pretty messy and I end up just murdering the entire town. Much like Joe from You, no, I didn't store underwear in my wall. I tried to justify every single kill I had, but there was just too much hard work, and everyone was getting suspicious as to why the town was slowly dropping like flies. On this murderous spree though, I do find some interesting things, like a building where there was a doctor conducting some shady operations in a back room, but at the front it was posed as a barber's. A wise business model, as realistically, where else can you be offered a fresh fade and then a kidney transplant out back? I could really see this business going somewhere. Or at least it would have done if I didn't, kill everyone. I even find another building with beds lying around and I thought it was just some sort of hostel, but when I loot the bodies, they say sick resident. I guess this is a hospice, so I'm out here taking the role of euthanasia. Not to be confused with youth in Asia. One is the practice of intentionally ending life to relieve pain and suffering, while the other is really good at maths homework. The mayor of the town, Reed Thompson, hides out with his boys on the top floor of the Saltuna cannery. Like any politician, they don't actually want to be involved with the rest of the general public. I try multiple times to take him out, but their firepower is just too much, so it's clear I'm going to need something more than just a melee weapon. I go to the nearby dock so I can get this sick melee weapon, the landing pad cutter, but I also find a grenade launcher, so this should hopefully suffice. Before we go in there though, I just take a moment. I mean, just look at me. Have you ever seen a more handsome serial killer? I'd like to see Ted Bundy pull off a maroon chef's hat this well. I make my way back up to Reed and proceed to unleash my grenade launcher all over their corporate faces. Wow, blowing up government facilities. You'd think I'd been radicalized. I promise I haven't been. I even have to kill Parvati, which is brutal as she's a real one, but understandably doesn't want to go for a quick coffee to blow things over as to why I've killed everyone in the entire town. So I quickly drop by a local power facility, grab myself a power core, but I'm also met with a decision as to whether or not I should redirect power to Edgewater or a local community. Of course, I choose the local community. I wouldn't want to just completely abandon mothers, fathers, children's if Edgewater doesn't even need the power anymore. I then make a quick drop by to see how they're all doing, and it's such a wholesome little place. How cute. I do, however, have the overwhelming urge to see how well Apex Legends vert nades have taught me, and it was just unfortunate this guy sitting by the fire had to be my guinea pig. That's definitely up there with some of the most satisfying kills I've ever gotten in a video game, but the rest of the community doesn't see it this way. Because of this overreaction, I have to murder them all. So now this planet isn't just extinct of straight women, it's extinct of all human beings. Let me know if you want to see more Outer Worlds. Who knows, maybe we will make more worlds completely extinct. Thank you guys for watching, I really do appreciate it. And a big thank you as always to those of you who've clicked the join button and become a member of the channel. It really does mean a lot. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. I'd like to just give a huge shout out to my motherload Voiy Bois and above, Gerardo Cruz, Björn van den Hatter, Charlie Waldock, TheGamerTeg, and Zyfin Productions. Thank you guys for your support.